Imagine your body is a high-performance engine. Now, imagine pouring a gallon of sticky liquid glue into the fuel tank. You won't believe this, but sugar affects your body almost exactly like a stimulant drug. Just minutes after you eat it, a biological cascade begins that most people never see. It triggers a surge of dopamine in your brain, forces your pancreas to pump out maximum insulin, pushes your liver into overload, and begins to rust your blood vessels from the inside out. But before we can understand the damage, we have to unmask the culprit itself. In today's video, we aren't just looking at the calories or the waistline. We are going deep into the microscopic reality of your internal organs. We're going to unmask the hidden sugars in your pantry, trace its journey from your tongue to your kidneys, and reveal why modern science is now calling certain brain diseases type 3 diabetes. This is a complete biological breakdown of what happens when the sugar storm hits your system. Before we dive into the first stage of this journey, if you're serious about reclaiming your metabolic health and understanding the science of how your body actually works, make sure to hit the subscribe button and turn on all notifications. To your tongue, sugar is just sweetness. To your cells, it's a chemical compound called sucrose. Think of sucrose as a pair of handcuffs. One side is glucose, the fuel every cell in your body craves, and the other is fructose, a fruit sugar that only your liver knows how to handle. In nature, these sugars are usually wrapped in fiber, like in an apple, which acts as a speed limiter, slowing down how fast the sugar hits your system. The problem today is that we've stripped away the fiber, turned sugar into a high-speed projectile, and hidden it where you'd least expect to find it. Because we've become wary of the word sugar, food manufacturers have turned to a game of metabolic hide-and-seek. There are over 60 different names sugar on food labels. If you see an ingredient on a food label ending in O's, like dextrose or maltose, the trap is set. They use natural labels like agave nectar or fruit juice, concentrate to lower your guard. But your liver doesn't care about the branding. It only sees the chemical. This deception allows sugar to sneak into your kitchen through the savory door. For example, a single tablespoon of ketchup or a healthy jar of pasta sauce can contain more sugar than a dessert. Your breakfast is often the biggest target for this sabotage. That heart-healthy instant oatmeal pack often contains 12 grams of sugar. That's 3 teaspoons of sugar before you even leave the house. Even your green smoothie from the store, without the pulp and fiber, is essentially a soda with a vitamin pill dropped in it. Even savory meals aren't safe. Sushi rice is seasoned with a mixture of vinegar, salt, and large amounts of sugar, meaning a single roll can contain up to 4 teaspoons of sugar just in the rice. Once these hidden sugars pass your lips, the journey begins the moment you take that first bite. Your mouth isn't just a hallway, it's an absorption chamber. Enzymes in your saliva start the breakdown instantly, and refined sugar is so small it can slip directly through the membranes of your mouth and into your blood. Before the food even hits your stomach, your brain and pancreas are already receiving the incoming alert. As you swallow, the sugar bypasses the heavy lifting of the stomach. Since the stomach has no enzymes for sugar, it simply passes the sugar wave straight into the small intestine. This is where the gentle stream of energy becomes a flash flood. Inside the small intestine, the absorption is violent and fast. Without fiber to act as a dam, the sugar rushes into your bloodstream. Within minutes, your blood sugar levels skyrocket from a calm baseline to a state of metabolic shock. Your blood is becoming thick and syrupy, a state your body cannot tolerate for long. To save itself, your body calls upon its primary regulator, the pancreas. The pancreas responds by flooding your system with insulin, a hormone that acts as a key to unlock your cells and let the sugar in. But when you eat sugar, all day, every day, the locks start to break. This is insulin resistance. Your cells stop listening to the insulin signal. You might notice the silent signs, such as a sudden crash of fatigue after eating, stubborn belly fat, or intense cravings for more sugar. It's a vicious cycle where your body is swimming in energy it can no longer use, eventually leading your pancreas to total exhaustion. But while the pancreas is struggling to manage the glucose, your liver is dealing with an even darker problem, the fructose. Remember, while your muscles can burn glucose, they can't touch fructose. It all goes to the liver, and when the liver is slammed with a massive dose of fructose from a soda or ultra-processed food, It has no choice but to turn that sugar into fat. This isn't just the fat you see in the mirror. It's visceral fat that wraps around your organs. This leads to non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, turning your vital detox organ into a storage unit for metabolic waste, which then leaks inflammatory chemicals into your entire system. While your liver is suffering in silence, your brain is celebrating. Sugar hits the reward center of your brain, triggering a massive release of dopamine. For a few minutes, you feel a sugar high, focused, happy, and alert. But the bill always comes due. As the dopamine levels crash, they take your mood with them, leaving you irritable and desperate for another hit. This is the addiction loop, where your brain is literally being rewired to choose the very thing that is damaging your organs. As this cycle repeats, a permanent kind of damage begins called glycation. Think of it as internal caramelization. Sugar molecules begin to bond with the proteins in your blood, creating advanced glycation end products, or AGEs. These AGEs act like tiny sharp fragments from broken glass, scratching the smooth inner lining of your blood vessels and making them stiff and brittle. This loss of elasticity is the root of high blood pressure and arterial plaque. Your vessels are literally rusting from the inside out, setting the stage for heart attacks and strokes. Because your insulin levels are constantly high, your body is locked in storage mode. It is biologically impossible to burn fat when insulin is spiked. Instead, your body keeps packing away the excess sugar as more visceral fat. You might even look thin on the outside, a condition known as thin outside, fat inside. Under the surface, your organs are being strangled by fat that acts like a toxic endocrine organ of its own. This systemic pressure eventually reaches your kidneys. The kidneys rely on a delicate web of microscopic filters to clean your blood. When your blood is constantly syrupy and full of AGEs, these filters become scarred and clogged. When you start seeing protein in your urine, it's a distress signal, a sign that your body's filtration system is beginning to leak. Finally, the sugar storm reaches your last line of defense, the immune system. Just 30 minutes after a high-sugar meal, your white blood cells, your internal soldiers, become paralyzed. Their ability to hunt down and kill bacteria and viruses drops by up to 40% for several hours. If you eat sugar throughout the day, your immune system never actually wakes up, leaving you vulnerable to every bug and virus that comes your way. As these internal processes, glycation, visceral fat accumulation, and kidney scarring continue unabated, your body eventually crosses a metabolic threshold. It is no longer just under stress. It begins to break down into chronic disease states. The most direct consequence of chronic insulin spikes is type 2 diabetes. When your pancreas can no longer keep up with the demand for insulin, or when your cells become so resistant that they refuse to let glucose in, your blood sugar remains permanently elevated. High blood sugar acts like a slow-moving acid in your bloodstream, leading to peripheral neuropathy, the painful death of nerve endings in your hands and feet, and retinopathy, where the tiny vessels in your eyes burst, leading to permanent blindness. But the danger doesn't stop at diabetes. Scientists now refer to Alzheimer's disease as type 3 diabetes. We are discovering that chronic insulin spikes cause the same resistance in the brain that they do in the body. When the brain can't process glucose for energy effectively due to insulin resistance, it begins to accumulate plaques and tangles, leading to cognitive decline and memory loss. Every sugar spike is, in essence, a brain fog that can eventually become permanent. Furthermore, the chronic inflammation triggered by the liver's production of visceral fat serves as fuel for cancer. Many cancer cells have an abnormal number of insulin receptors. They feed on the high levels of glucose and insulin in the blood to fuel their rapid growth. By keeping your insulin levels high through constant sugar consumption, you are essentially providing an all-you-can-eat buffet for cancer cells to thrive and multiply. Even your heart is at the mercy of this cycle. High insulin tells your kidneys to hold on to salt, which increases water retention and blood pressure. Combined with the rusted and stiffened blood vessels caused by glycation, your heart has to pump harder and harder against a closed system. This is the perfect recipe for heart failure. This isn't a series of isolated events. It is a singular, interconnected metabolic collapse. It sounds like a horror story, but the most incredible part of this story is how it can end. Your body is a masterpiece of resilience. Within just a few days of cutting out the added sugars and unmasking the hidden ones, the syrup clears. Your insulin levels drop, Your liver begins to clear the fat, and your immune system wakes back up. To make the change, start with the 80-20 rule. Stop looking at the front of the box, flip it over, and if sugar is in the first three ingredients, put it back. Next, buffer your sugar. If you have something sweet, eat it after a meal containing fiber, fat, and protein to prevent the flash flood. Finally, commit to a 3-day reset. It only takes 72 hours for your taste buds to begin regenerating and for those intense cravings to subside. It isn't about perfection. It's about awareness. Now that you know how the story unfolds, you have the power to change the ending, one choice at a time.